I've had my E92 M3 for over 2 years now, and apart from doing simple oil changes and rebuilding a steering rack, there hasn't been anything really wrong with it. Now, I think it is time to catch up on a bunch of maintenance. And specifically in this video, I want to tackle two things. First off, the battery. Now, the battery on the E92 M3 is weak. I have done this before my 335, and it's an absolute tedious process. Second off, we're going to do an oil change, but this one is going to be different than my usual ones because the oil drain plug is leaking. So I'm interested to see what's going on there. And potentially, if we have the time, we're going to look into my subwoofers not working. And those are just a few things that we need to do to the E92 M3, but the list is quite substantial, and we're going to be tackling this within the upcoming weeks. And the main reason why I think that this battery replacement job is tedious, because I've done it on a few other cars and it's so much easier, but also we will be dealing with IBS, which is just a bunch of cables which you have to watch out for. I'll show you in a sec, but first off, let's see if my M3 will even start. Now, we did get a little crank. Again. Okay. So, to start up the M3, it only took 3 goes. But in the past, there have been so many instances where the M3 would not power on whatsoever, and I had to go grab a booster pack in order to turn it on. And I'm honestly tired of just flipping the coin every single day to see if this is gonna fire on or not. So let's proceed with the battery change. Oh man, how I've missed working on my car in just a short sleeve while still being warm. What you're looking at right here is the battery itself with IBS, and IBS stands for Intelligent Battery Sensor. And for the purpose of this video, let's just say that it helps manage the battery. Now, what you're seeing here are a bunch of cables, and it may look intimidating, but they are just cables. You can pretty much unplug anything as long as you plug it back into the correct spot. Now, the only thing that you want to make sure not to do is do not touch the positive and the negative terminal of the battery together, so you don't end up shorting anything, and apart from that, you are all set. Removing the IBS can be annoying if you don't have a strategy, so let me show you the fastest way of removing it. So at the side that is closest to you, you want to get a flat head and then slide it in right here in order to pry the lock. Now, this lock right here literally sticks under your battery right there. Now, once you have this removed, all you got to do is just to push to this side while slowly lifting it up in order to kind of wiggle it out the other side. So you want to pry it out by literally moving it to the side just so you can push down and remove this IBS. And the only plug which really kind of made me stop and think was this plug on this yellow cable. What it really required is just a flat head and to kind of pry it up in order for it to go out, as you see right here. You might think that this is it and we can pull out the battery, but there are 2 more things we need to do. So first off, there is still this battery breather drain thing, whatever, it's right here. But before we remove this, we need to undo a bolt that's literally located here. Probably you can't see, but it's holding the battery in place, just so when we drive, it doesn't move. And here is the bracket I was talking about. Doing this job. Here is the old battery and here is the new battery. Now, as I was doing some research, I wanted to get the exact same battery, as it would make sense. It is made for this car, but this battery is discontinued. This is a newer version of it. And just to show you up close, 95 amp hours, I think it's called, 12 volts, 850 amps. Hopefully any of this was visible. Now the ISO did change itself to 100 from auto, but here our ventilation port, and as you can see the battery is stable, but this ventilation, whatever hose, was literally pushed in against this wall. Now the battery is stable because you can put different sizes of batteries here, and it's essentially, I guess, set itself in one of the positions. So now we have to lift it up a little to move it up against this wall. So let's try it. I'm not sure if you will be able to see this, but there is this metal tab right here. The battery is against this metal tab. It's also pushed all the way there. Now we still have our bracket to connect, which you cannot see, But once we connect the bracket, the battery is going to be stable and we're going to plug everything back in. Putting back that metal bracket turned out to be surprisingly harder than I have imagined because of lack of space, but I came up with a great solution. Holy crap. If you're gonna ask me about the best way of putting a tab on, this with a magnet on the end is the way to go. I'm so surprised how it worked so well. Putting back together is actually not an issue, it's satisfying, but if you're looking at all those cables confused, make sure that before you disassemble everything, take a picture with your phone just so you have some sort of reference to go back to. So the battery is in, and you may think to yourself that we are done. Well, let me focus. Well, we have one more step to do, and it's coding in the battery. Now, why coding is in the battery is so important? Well, you're basically telling your car, hey, we got a new battery, manage the battery better than the old one, because as the battery gets older, it has to be managed slightly differently. I guess this is the best way of explaining it in the most easiest terms possible. So let's code in the battery. I already got my MHD OBD2 port scanner. In BeamerLink, it showed that we're using a 90 amp hour battery where we have a 95 hour amp battery. And in order to code this, now coding is very important if you're going from a lead acid to AGM. We are going from AGM to AGM, so it's not that big of a deal. And you can go into car access system on Beamer code. And if you go into the battery type, there are different kind of specifications you can choose. Now, looking at this list, 90 amp hour is the closest that we have to our 95. So I'm gonna stick with 95. And so let's switch over to our BeamerLink in order to reset the battery. Now we are over in BeamerLink, so 12 volt battery. We can register new battery, same capacity and type. To register new battery, so engine is off, yes. Ignition is in position 2, yes it is. You can see that technically the system is on, but obviously the engine isn't working, so no error codes stored in the engine control unit. Are there any codes in the engine control unit? I am not sure, but let's register the battery. So battery has been registered, and yeah, so this is our battery job done. So now let's go over and do an oil change. It's not going to be a how-to. I want to find out why my drain plug is leaking. I'm hoping that the thread isn't stripped, so let's check it out. Enjoy the somewhat of a cold start. And this was the cold start. So now let's change over into our mechanic clothes. And as always, let's remove the drip first. We're under the M3, and let me show you. First off, it's actually not bad. Now, this might look bad, and you may think to yourself that my M3 has more drip than Travis Scott, but it's not the case. Now, this oil has been in the M3 for over 4 or 5 months, and there is only like half a liter of oil that has drained, which isn't much, trust me. Like, there are no drips underneath the M3. So I'm curious to know if I have stripped this oil pan, if this isn't torqued correctly, or if I may have forgotten to put the brass washer. And from this situation onwards, I'm going to be using a torque wrench when doing my oil. Got my torque wrench, got my, I think it is hex bolt. It's called hex bolt. So I'm testing to see which one will fit. By the way, I hate those drain plug bolts because they use the shittiest ends that they possibly can, and they get stripped away very easily. So I think this is the best fit. So now let's set our torque wrench to 25 Newton meters. So this should be 25 Newton meters. So if this isn't going to click right away, there's a big chance that it was just under tightened. So let's check. Well, fuck. Yeah, as I've said, I hate those because they are difficult to remove and then they just strip away the drain plug bolt. So we are over 25 Newton meters, which doesn't look good. But I have another trick under my sleeve, which I will want to try. But first off, let's remove all the tension of the torque wrench. Before I undo my drain bolts, I want to make sure that both of them can get loose, just in case one won't, so then I won't be stranded. Believe me or don't, but the thread looks fine. We have the washer, but in terms of the bolt itself, it's all fine. So I have another trick under my sleeve. So first off, I do have more oil drain caps that are practically, well, they are new. Like this is brand new. I've ordered more because I saw how the quality was so shit of those. So we're gonna replace this. But here we also have a box of tools, and let me show you what's inside. And this here are tools which I had no idea of their existence, and it is basically a thread repair set. Now there are two different ways of repairing the thread. So you can either repair the thread on the bolt itself. You use those guys for it. It basically realigns the thread because they have those little teeth on the inside, and so if your thread on your bolt is squeezed or malformed, you can basically straighten it out. But we are interested in this. So if our thread is kind of malformed on the inside, this here should basically straighten it out, and maybe, just maybe, we can save ourselves by using this little tool. I'm not sure what are the chances of this repairing our thread, but it's not a case of you just picking up a 12 because we have a 12 thread. There are different pitches is probably the wrong word to use it, but there are different kind of spaces between the threads. Now this is a 1.5 and this is 175, and we want the 1.5, so they aren't the same. You can potentially mess up your thread if you use the wrong one, so we're using 1.5. Doing an oil change is actually quite easy and quick. Now it does get monotonous the more you do it, but make sure to always pay attention because one wrong move on this fairly easy process can mess up your engine. Oil filter is in, so let's put the drain plugs back, but before we put on the one that was leaking, let's try to use this magical, mysterious tool. And here I'm working the tool which I have just shown you. I'm being very careful, twisting it up and back down every so often in order not to force it in. And now honestly, by using common sense, fixing a thread on an aluminum oil pan with this tool. Aluminum is very weak, so it's very difficult to kind of straighten out because it would probably, well, it will most likely break. And this is the moment of realization where I saw the leftovers of the old stripped thread on this tool. DJI microphone is back at it again, for some reason not recording the sound. I'm not sure why this happened, but here I basically give you the options of what we can do in order to fix this current issue with a stripped oil pan thread. And I've done a bit of research, and it turns out that this job is actually quite difficult because you only really have one chance. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of upset. I thought that this was going to be the last clip. Fortunately, my dad, who's a motorbike mechanic, came in clutch because he's used to doing these types of repairs. Now, I could have done it myself, but not really, because first off, there wasn't any scrap metal which I could have played around. And the problem here is you only really have one chance, which you will see. And the cheapest oil pan which I was able to find new was for about 1.2 thousand euro, which is not something that I want to spend if I don't have to. What you will be seeing here isn't like the only struggle that we had to go through, because we have ordered a repair kit which was originally from a 12M to a 13M bolt, but the problem was that it was for a regular socket, so it wouldn't fit. Again, I will mention this later on in the video. After a bunch of driving around the town looking for the right bolt, looking for the right repair kit, we ended up going from a 12M to a 14M. Now a 13M is a very unusual size, and I've read somewhere that using a 13M won't give us enough grip and there will be little play, so we went up to a 14M. Going from a 12M to a 14M is quite a jump. That's why it required drilling a hole that's slightly smaller than the new thread we are about to make. And using a bit of grease on the drill bit prevents a lot of those aluminum pieces from going back into the oil pan, but despite that, we also took some flatheads and some picks with a little bit of grease on the edge, and we went in there going around the edges to make sure that we pick up as much aluminum pieces as possible. Creating a new thread is a slow, tedious process in which you have to be extremely careful because you can screw it up at any single point. Now, this is a two-step process where initially you go with a thread maker, I'm going to call it, in order to create initial thread, and then once that thread maker goes through, then you have to grab a second thread maker that was given in the box in order to create that already finished thread we desire. And the way those thread makers work is that you are literally cutting out a bit of metal in the oil pan in order to create grooves. Now, you may think to yourself, what happens with the leftover metal that we are cutting? Well, what you do is you give it a few twists and then you pull it all the way back in order to collect or extract the collected aluminum pieces within the grooves of those thread makers. Now, you want to put a bit of grease on that thread maker too in order to capture as many aluminum pieces as possible. And again, it is best to do a few twists and go all the way out. It's better for you to do this longer than to force that thread and damage it. So again, be slow, be gentle, be careful, and after every single extraction, you want to go in there with a small flathead with a bit of grease on top or with a metal pick and pick out as much aluminum pieces as possible. You would be surprised how many aluminum leftover pieces is left there after we undo this thread maker. And the new bolt didn't fit ever so slightly, so we had to go to a table sander in order to kind of sand it down around for it to fit. And after that, it fit perfectly. And don't forget that I'm a software developer who loves cars, and unfortunately I cannot do everything yet. I'm not sure how well you can hear me, but this new drain plug bolt barely fits. Barely. We have to go onto the angle grinder to grind it around in order for it to fit. The car has been going on for the past, I want to say 10-15 minutes. I want to wait for it to go to the operating temperature. And yeah, one thing I didn't record is we actually did flush the oil. It just that it took so long for the oil to actually circulate. Now, I'm still waiting for the operating temperature to get up to what it needs to be in order for me to check the oil level. But I can't believe it. Shout out to my dad, big shout out to my dad, because there was no way I would be doing this job and actually making it work. For those of you that don't know, on the inside of the drain plug, there are two kind of notches that kind of taper inwards, so there isn't much you got to work with. So if you screw it up, well, good luck, because I was looking at the prices of the new oil pans, and a new oil pan from BMW is about €1,500. The cheapest I was able to find it in Germany, new, was about €1,200. And just if you're wondering, it's not just about undoing the oil pan, putting on the new one. We in fact have to drop down the front suspension to be able to fit a new oil pan, which is just even thinking about it makes me very anxious. But yep, so this has been the video. There are plenty of more things to do on the M3, but I think the worst is behind us. So hope you have enjoyed. Hopefully your next week is going to go even better than my one was going. And yeah, hopefully I will see you in my next one. Take care and to the next one.